and they're going to try to change the subject every way that they can. And it's just a fact. Okay. Deal with the fact that you got a ignorant criminal in your political party that's president of the United States and quit making up shit.
James, I have covered or directed coverage of a number of different presidents with different policies, different people, and different priorities. One thing they shared: in times of emotional trauma, crisis, they sought to uplift or unify the country. Ronald Reagan after the Challenger space disaster, Bill Clinton after the Oklahoma City bombing, George Bush after 9/11, Barack Obama at Mother Emanuel Church after 9 parishioners were killed. Donald Trump, by contrast, is trying to use the assassination of Republican influencer Charlie Kirk to divide us even more, to exacerbate bitterness, to make it worse. He and J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller are really stirring hate, revenge, and Trump went so far as to say, I could care less about unifying. They claim all the violence is perpetrated by left-wingers. Vance cited, who are those left-wingers? Vance said the Ford Foundation and George Soros. Oh, sure. It's not neo-Nazis. It's not the Proud Boys. It's not the Oath Keepers. It's not the white nationalists. It's George Soros and Ford Foundation. That's just a lie. Charlie Kirk was killed not by a conspiracy of left-wingers, but by a lone gunman who apparently had adopted some left-wing views on issues like transgenders. By a lone gunman, not by a conspiracy. The man who killed the Minnesota former speaker, Michelle Bortman, was an anti-abortion Christian evangelical. Does Vance want to take away the tax exemption for all right-to-life groups or all evangelical churches? Of course not. Actually, more violence comes from the right, the white nationalists and so forth. People like Kathleen Belew have really documented that. But Trump doesn't care about facts, obviously, or what it does to the country. He's in it only for his selfish sense. This is a disgrace, the reaction to the Charlie Kirk tragedy.
Well, these people are obvious and they are, but this is a little more insidious. Ross Duhart, who just can't come to grips with the fact that he belongs to a political party that's a cult, always has to count something else. In this morning, he was talking about crime and how violence and this kind of gunplay and how the left has to come to grips with itself. In the same day, I'm looking on this site. It says DOJ deletes study saying 4 more domestic terrorism committed by the far right. We know where this is coming from. And they keep coming out and saying, what left-wing person is like Trump or J.D. Vance or anybody like that calling for violence, telling them, I'm not son of a bitch Cole or anything like that. These people have to come to grips is what they brought about. And they're going to try to change the subject every way that they can. And it's just a fact. Okay. Sure, there's left-wing violence. It is far less than right-wing inspired political violence. I'm sorry. It's a fucking fact. Like, get over it. It's deal with the fact that you got a ignorant criminal in your political party that's president of the United States and quit making up shit.
You okay, James?
I'm fine. Yeah, myself.
James, we should tell our listeners is in Munich, so I'm a little bit jealous of where he is, but the communication is coming through fine. The other every day you learn something about how they're even worse than you thought. Pam Bondi. I never have I heard an attorney general. We've had some bad ones. Display such remarkable ignorance. She has no idea what the First Amendment is. She said the other day, we're going to prosecute everybody who engages in hate speech. You know what, General? The First Amendment doesn't just protect good speech or nice speech. That's easy. Everyone agrees with that. It protects bad speech. It protects hate speech. It protects evil speech as long as it doesn't directly incite violence. we've known that for a long time. Apparently, it took Pam Bondi, a little bit of a pushback from her stupid comment to understand that. That's because that Justice Department, with Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, they got rid of the third guy. He got appointed to a court and appeals court up in New Jersey, which was a disgrace. And Kash Patel. Kash Patel disgraced himself at that out in Utah. He went out there trying to claim credit. He lied and he said, "Well, we've caught the guy." Well, we didn't. He had nothing to do with catching the guy. And then he came back and appeared before the Senate committee, and all he wanted to do was insult them. We have, I think, the most unqualified and perhaps even corrupt Justice Department in the history of this country.
Yeah, we have corrupt, incompetent buffoons running the United States government, but let's talk about the dangers of cultural liberalism, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
I mean, these people will do anything they can to talk around the subject, and the subject is we have a convicted felon for president who, in my opinion, is profiting off of the presidency. And many of the people, many is like an understatement, are idiots, are ideological idiots. That's the problem the United States has. It's not some Berkeley town hall meeting or something.
Yeah, yeah. James, on another matter, the government funding bill is coming up now. I think Democrats are sort of playing it right, but I emphasize sort of. They can't get pushed into the corner saying it's the Democrats who are advocating a shutdown. They are not. They're saying, look, we're for funding the government if you do things that are very important to address the cost of living and problems that people are having. Keep the Obamacare subsidies, which are due to expire with this government during the duration of any long-term government funding. Do something about rural hospitals, which are getting clobbered by your bill. Maybe a little bit more on law enforcement, since what you're doing isn't working, and perhaps one or two, but a select group of things that address people's concerns. That's what they ought to be saying. I saw a column in the Times to said the Democrats can win a government shutdown. That's not the way you want to view it. You want to view it as that whether the Republicans are willing to make the kind of uh, concessions that affect people's lives and particularly affect the awful cost of living problem.
So when you go into any negotiation and go into an event, you have to ask yourself, what is it the other side wants? I will tell you exactly what Donald Trump wants. He wants to shut the government down. Why does he want to shut the government down? Because he owns this economy. In everything that's happened, he's not so stupid that he doesn't know that it's not going very well, that the economy he inherited is better than the economy even after 9 months in office or whatever it is. And he feels like if he can get a government shutdown, he can blame the Democrats and he can say that's the reason it's in a bad economy. I'm telling you, I promise you, that's exactly what's going on in his head. He thinks he needs, he may be right, by the way, some outside event where he can shift the blame because there's no blame he can put on anybody. He's passed everything with all Republican votes. He hasn't got a single vote. And he's itching for this. And he wants to say that Hakeem Jeffers and Senator Schumer shut the government down. That's where you got to start when you start this whole process. And the Democrats, no one goes out and plants corn. They go out, they plow, they prepare the field, they plow it, they harrow it, they cultivate it, and then they do it. No painter starts applying paint. You strip all the old paint, you go through all the prep stuff. We need to be coming into this fight, we need to be in the prep stage. He is going to try to do whatever he can to shut it down so he can claim that 47 Senate Democrats and 213 House Democrats are responsible for this. And he sees this as the only way out. So understand, they're not coming at this from a good faith position. And we want this, and maybe we'll give you a little bit of that. We won the election, so we want 62% of what we got. No, they don't want this deal. They're looking at this shutdown as a lifeline, and they're probably going to do it.
Well,
And you've
that's
got to be
why
sure.
That's why it's absolutely imperative that the Democrats have a believable counter narrative, which is not just we're for a shutdown. It is that, look, we're willing to fund the government, but we're not willing to fund the government if you're going to have three
That's
and a
right.
half million people kicked off their health
Right.
care and premiums go up. We're not
Yep.
willing to fund the government if you're going to let rural hospitals and one or two other, not a laundry list, not 17 issues. I think they can win that argument.
I do too. In order to win the argument, you have to prepare the ground for it. You got to start laying out what the parameters of things you're going to be looking for. Extending subsidies to buy health insurance. I said 125,000 will cost, but I'm open to any of this. But you got to be out there talking about it now. You got to be preparing people for it. You don't want to pick up the paper September 28th and everybody goes, "Oh God, here it goes." Well, one side says this, one side says that. Actually, one side wants to shut the government down, and that's Trump.
Yeah, I think that's true.
He
Okay,
just
well,
wants an excuse.